In 2008, two brothers hunting in the taiga saw a man walking through the trees about 200 meters ahead. What caught their attention was how stiff and slow he moved. They called out. The man stopped. Then he turned. His body stayed facing forward, but his head rotated completely around. All like to look at them. The brothers ran. When they reached their camp 10 minutes later, the same man was standing at the edge of the tree line, much closer than he ever could. VA traveled on foot. The brothers described his face as blank, like a mask. Local hunters later told them, "You med Delecia, you don't meet him twice and live." They moved away from the region shortly after. Have you ever felt like you were being watched, even when you were completely alone? Imagine that feeling, but amplified 1,000 times, deep in the desolate, snow-covered expanse of the Siberian taiga. This isn't just a campfire story. This is a chilling account from a lone hunter who stumbled upon something that should not exist. His name was Dmitri, a seasoned trapper who knew the taiga like the back of his hand. One bitter winter, while checking his lines miles from any settlement, he found a set of footprints in the fresh snow. They were strange, not because they were from an animal he didn't recognize, but because they were human, or at least, they looked human. But there was something deeply unsettling about them. The tracks were leading away from his position, but the imprints of the feet were reversed. It looked as if someone was walking forward, but with their feet pointing backward. Dmitri, though unnerved, was a practical man. He thought maybe a prankster was out here, or someone lost and disoriented. He decided to follow the tracks, calling out into the silent forest. The only reply was the crunch of his own boots on the snow and the whisper of the wind through the skeletal trees. The tracks led him deeper and deeper into the woods. For what felt like hours, the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows that danced like specters. As twilight bled across the snow, the tracks led him to a small, abandoned hunting cabin. The door was slightly ajar. Against his better judgment, Dmitri pushed the door open. Inside, the air was frigid and smelled of decay. The tracks went straight through the single room and ended abruptly at the far wall. There were no other exits, no windows large enough for a person to climb through. It was as if whoever made the tracks had simply walked into the wall and vanished. A shiver that had nothing to do with the cold ran down Dmitri's spine. He backed out of the cabin, his heart pounding in his chest. That's when he heard it. A faint, rhythmic crunching sound coming from the trees behind him. Espunaron, his rifle raised. He saw the tracks again. Not the old ones he had followed, but a fresh set. They started from that same cabin wall, leading back out into the darkening forest. Facing backward, just like before, he was no longer following the tracks. They were now leading away from him, as if something had just left the cabin and was walking back the way it came. Dmitri didn't wait to find out what it was. Ran. He didn't look back, didn't stop until he saw the faint lights of his own camp. He never went that deep into the taiga again. Local legends speak of a spirit, a lost soul forever walking backward through time, a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. They call it the man who walks backward. So if you're ever in a remote wilderness and find a set of footprints that do you want to make sense, don't follow them. Turn around and walk away, because you might not be the one doing the hunting. A veteran search and rescue ranger reported something he swears was real. During a missing person search in the late 1990s, his team found a perfectly intact wooden staircase deep in the forest clean. No moss, no debris, just standing there like it had been transplanted from a house. His commander told everyone, "Do not approach it. Do not touch it." But curiosity won. The ranger climbed halfway up before feeling a shock of cold, then instantly lost all balance and nearly fell off. He said the area around the stairs was completely silent, no birds, no wind. Later, they returned to the same spot. The staircase was gone, leaving only untouched ground. The ranger claims he has seen such lonely staircases 3 more times in different parks. Hey everyone, gather round, because I need to tell you something. I've been a national park ranger for 15 years, and in all my time out in the wilderness, I've never seen anything that truly scared me. Not until last week. I've seen mountain lions stalk deer. I've been bluff charged by a grizzly bear. I've even spent a night lost in a blizzard, but what I found deep in the backwoods, it's changed everything. They don't train you for this kind of thing. They don't even acknowledge it exists. But it's out there, and I have to warn you. We rangers hear stories, of course. Campfire tales. Local legends. The kind of stuff you dismiss with a chuckle. The most persistent one, the one that pops up every few years, is the story of the staircase in the woods. People claim to find these perfectly constructed staircases, just standing alone, deep in the forest, leading to absolutely nowhere. They're always pristine, no matter the weather. No dirt, no leaves, no animal tracks around them. Just a clean, solitary staircase. The old-timers say you should never, ever climb them. Never even touch them. Just turn around and walk away, and don't look back. I always thought it was nonsense. Just a spooky story to tell the kids. Last Tuesday, I was doing a routine patrol on a remote trail that hadn't been maintained in years. It was about 10 miles from any road, deep in the oldest part of the park. The sun was starting to set, casting long, eerie shadows through the ancient cedars. That's when I saw it. Tucked away in a small clearing, almost hidden by the overgrowth, was a staircase. It was exactly as the stories described, made of a dark polished wood that seemed to absorb the light around it, with an ornate, wrought iron banister. It looked like it had been ripped straight out of a Victorian mansion and dropped in the middle of the wilderness. My rational mind was screaming at me. This had to be a prank. Some art installation. But there were no tracks. No sign of heavy machinery. The ground around it was untouched, covered in a thick layer of pine needles. I walked a full circle around it, my heart starting to pound in my chest. It was just there, perfect and impossible. The air grew cold, and the woods went silent. No birds, no insects. Just the sound of my own breathing. My radio, which had been crackling with static just moments before, was dead. Against every instinct, against all the warnings I'd laughed at for years, I felt an overwhelming urge to climb it. It was like a magnetic pull. I put my hand on the banister. It was cold, unnaturally so, like a piece of ice. I took the first step. The wood didn't creak. It felt solid, ancient. Second step. Third. As I climbed higher, a strange feeling washed over me. A profound sadness. A sense of immense loss. It was suffocating. I looked up. The stairs just kept going, disappearing into the darkening sky above the canopy. Primero looked down, and my stomach dropped. The forest floor was gone. Below me was just an endless, swirling black void. Panic seized me. I scrambled back down, my boots making no sound on the steps. The moment my feet touched the solid ground of the forest floor, the world snapped back. The birds started chirping again. The wind rustled the leaves, and my radio crackled back to life with a dispatcher, asking for a status check. I didn't answer. Just ran. I ran until my lungs burned and I was back at my truck. I haven't been back to that part of the park since. And I won't be. So if you're ever out in the deep woods and you see a staircase that doesn't belong, please, for your own sake, turn around and walk away. In 2011, two friends hiking near the edge of Aokigahara, the suicide forest, reported hearing someone screaming for help. They followed the voice for almost 20 minutes, deeper into an area that wasn't on any trail. The screams suddenly stopped. When they turned to head back, they realized something horrifying. Their footprints had vanished behind them. Every path in every direction looked identical. No birds, no wind, no insects. One friend described feeling like someone was standing inches behind him, but when he turned around, there was nothing. It took a rescue team 6 hours to find them, even though they were less than 1 kilometer from the road. The rescuers said the area they were found in is known for people disappearing for minutes or hours, even when they never moved. Have you ever heard a silence so loud it screams? That's Aokigahara for you, Japan's infamous Sea of Trees. Most people know it for its dark reputation, A place where compasses spin wildly and the air is thick with sorrow. But what they don't know is the real reason you should never, ever stray from the path. This isn't just a story about getting lost. It's about what finds you when you do. My friend, Kenji, was a seasoned hiker. He'd conquered mountains and navigated dense jungles. To him, Aokigahara was just another challenge, a place of myths he wanted to debunk. It's just magnetism from the volcanic rock, he'd say, laughing off the warnings and the stories. Just campfire tailies, too scared tourists. He packed his gear, a high-tech GPS, extra batteries, and a promise to call me the moment he was out. That was the last time I saw him. The first day, he sent me a picture. It was a gnarled tree, its roots twisting over the mossy ground like skeletal fingers. The caption read, "More beautiful than scary. The silence is unreal." I messaged back, "Stay on the trail, man." He just sent a thumbs up emoji. The second day, his messages got weird. "The GPS is acting up," he wrote. "Keeps rerouting me in circles. But it's okay. I have a compass." A few hours later, another message. "Funny thing, I keep seeing this red ribbon tied to a branch. I've passed it 3 times now. Someone's playing a prank, I guess." My stomach twisted. The colorful strings in Aokigahara aren't pranks. They're lifelines laid by people who hope to find their way back out, or by park rangers to mark a path, but the same one 3 times. I told him to follow the official trail markers, to ignore everything else. He replied, "I'm trying, but the path, it seems to shift. And the silence, it's not empty anymore. I keep hearing whispers, just at the edge of hearing, like the wind is trying to say something." That night, my phone rang. It was Kenji. His voice was frantic, breathless. "I'm not alone," he whispered. "There's someone out here, walking behind me. I can hear the footsteps, leaves crunching. But whenever I turn around, there's nothing. Just trees, miles and miles of trees." I told him to shout, to make noise, to see if it was another hiker. "I did," he cried, his voice cracking. The footsteps just stopped. And then, the whispering started again. It's all around me now. They're saying my name. I could hear the chattering of his teeth. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "The trees, ... they don't look right. They're watching me. I swear their branches are moving, trying to block the path. And the red ribbon, it's right in front of me again. But this time, it's tied into a noose." I begged him to call the police, to give me his coordinates. "The GPS is dead," he stammered. "Everything's dead. I can see a light, ... Up ahead, a small light, like a lantern. I'm going to head for it. It has to be a ranger station. It has to be." He was sobbing now. "I shouldn't have come here. You were right. It's not the forest that's haunted. The forest is asterisk. The haunting. Suddenly, there was a sharp intake of breath on his end. The whispering I could faintly hear in the background got louder, clearer. It wasn't the wind, it was a chorus of voices, all murmuring the same phrase, a Japanese phrase I didn't understand. "Kenji, what is it? What's happening?" I yelled into the phone. His voice came back, but it wasn't his. It was a dead, hollow monotone. "It's so beautiful here," he sighed calmly. "The trees are so welcoming. I think... I think I'll stay." Then the line went dead. The search parties found nothing. His tent was there, his gear neatly packed, except for his phone and GPS, which were missing. It was as if Eddie just stepped out for a short walk and vanished from the face of the earth. The authorities said he probably got lost and succumbed to the elements. But I know the truth. Sometimes, late at night, I pull up that last picture he sent me, the one of the gnarled tree. And just last week, I noticed something I'd never seen before. Deep in the shadows, behind the twisted roots, almost invisible, is a flicker of red, like a ribbon tied to a branch. Aokigahara doesn't just take your life. It takes your soul and adds your voice to the whispers in the trees, waiting for the next person who dares to stray from the path. So if you ever find yourself in Japan's sea of trees, and you hear a whisper on the wind, don't listen. Just run. A couple camping in the Smoky Mountains in 2015 found a fresh, perfectly set up tent early in the morning while hiking. Inside were a sleeping bag, clothes, a flashlight, and a wallet. Everything felt warm, as if someone had just been there. They called out, waited, and eventually alerted rangers. When rangers checked the ID, their faces went pale. The person who owned the wallet had been missing for 3 weeks, believed to be dead after a severe storm. The weirdest part, rangers said the tent didn't exist during their multiple ground searches in that area during the previous weeks. They brought the tent back to the station. That night, it vanished from the evidence. Ruined the entire tent and contents, with no signs of forced entry. Last fall, my buddy Alex and I decided to go backpacking in the Great Smoky Mountains. We were both experienced hikers, looking for a real challenge. Something off the beaten path. We picked a remote trail, one that wasn't on most tourist maps. The first day was perfect. Crisp autumn air, incredible views, just the sound of our boots on the trail. As dusk started to settle in, we began looking for a place to camp. That's when we saw it. Tucked away in a small clearing was a single, modern-looking tent. It was strange. We hadn't seen another soul all day. The tent was zipped up tight, but there was no sign of anyone around. No backpack, no cooking gear, no footprints besides our own. We called out, "Hello, anyone there?" But only the wind answered. Curiosity got the better of me. I crept closer and placed my hand on the fabric. It was warm, not just from the last rays of sun, but genuinely, inexplicably warm, as if someone had just been inside. Alex thought it was weird too, but he figured the owners were just off gathering firewood or something. I wasn't so sure. A chill that had nothing to do with the evening air crawled down my spine. We decided to set up our own camp a good 50 yards away, keeping the strange tent in sight. As night failed, the forest grew quiet. Too quiet. The usual chorus of crickets and nocturnal animals was completely silent. We sat by a small fire, our eyes constantly darting back to the other tent, which now looked like a dark, silent silhouette against the trees. The warmth I had felt earlier, it just didn't make sense. There was no smoke, no light, nothing. Alex tried to rationalize it, maybe a solar-powered heater, but even he sounded unconvinced. The feeling of being watched was overwhelming. Hours passed. The fire died down to glowing embers, and the moon cast long, eerie shadows through the trees. We were both on edge, whispering, trying to make sense of it all. Around midnight, a sound cut through the silence. A soft, rhythmic, tearing sound. It was coming from the direction of the empty tent. We froze, listening. It sounded like fabric being slowly, deliberately ripped. My heart was hammering against my ribs. Alex grabbed his heaviest flashlight, his knuckles white. The sound stopped as suddenly as it began, plunging the woods back into an unnerving silence. We didn't sleep a wink that night. As the first light of dawn broke, we packed our gear with frantic speed. We had to pass the other tent to get back to the trail. We approached it cautiously. The tent was still there, zipped up, looking exactly as it had before. Alex, bolder than me, walked right up to it and unzipped the flap. He peered inside and then stumbled back, his face pale. I crept forward to look. The inside of the tent was completely empty, but the floor was covered in long, deep gouges, as if something with massive claws had been trying to claw its way out from the inside.